Hopefully you're having an incredible day today. My name is Alex Light with Sparky 3, and I got Shane here in studio. Shane, how you doing? How you feeling? College football's done. We're here in the NFL playoffs. It sucks. It sucks. How you feeling?
Yeah, it's not a fun time for me. I hate college football being over because it's the longest off season out of any sport. But you know, my duties on the show will kind of ramp up from here on with recruiting.
That's true.
Paying attention with the mock drafts and all the drafts, so I'm excited for that. So, and plus, hey, we got playoffs and Super Bowl coming up. So,
speaking of recruiting, how about Jackson State? You know, they already got Travis Hunter, #1 prospect in the nation, and they got the 4th-ranked wide receiver as well.
Yep.
Deion Sanders making moves.
Yeah, man. HBCUs are making moves. Arkansas had a 4-star receiver. He transferred Darren Turner. He transferred to Alabama A&M. He announced today. So,
and Cameron Ward, he is going to Washington State. That dude blew it up at FCS level, and you know he announced his transfer.
And that's the incarnate Ward.
Yep. QB. He passed like 5,800 yards or something like that, or 58 TDs. It's one of the two. I'm drawing a blank on which, but dude had an electric season for them, and so I mean him going to Washington State, like that's gonna be something to watch.
Definitely.
Speaking of something to watch with that, I mentioned this to you guys earlier. I had no idea that Hawaii got Cooper from Washington State.
I didn't either.
That missed. Apparently, it just happened a day ago. I mean, it's within the last probably 48 hours. But I missed that one. Did not see that. Speaking of Hawaii, we're going to talk about that here today.
Oh, yeah.
There's some stuff to talk about that probably not a lot of people know is going on.
Oh, yeah, most definitely, especially if you're just a casual and you don't listen to the show and you don't really...
Exactly.
Just a casual football fan.
Hey, look, we have a small but growing platform, okay? And I would like to use that small and growing platform to bring attention to situations that a lot of people probably don't know about. I think that's what we all would like to do from time to time. But if you could, go follow us on Twitter at TerribleFB Show. We'd appreciate that, as we'll check out the other shows like Game Static, Anime Plus, and talk about movies and stuff. And lastly, if you want to support us further, the Patreon is a great way to do so, but don't feel obligated. Just be a friend. Tell a friend. Shout out to Andy, our Tier 1 patron. Obviously, no Tyler this week. He is going to probably try to come back next week. He's having a COVID situation right now, so T's and P's there. Hopefully, everything is going on well over in the Honeysuckle household, and get him back to talk about some playoff football. That's assuming his Bills make it out of this weekend. I mean, going against the Patriots, I mean, you can never count them out.
Never.
So it's going to be tough if the Bills are even going to make it out.
And plus, did they split the season series, or did New England sweep it?
Split. I think it was a split. Because New England won that wild-ass Monday Night Football game where Mac threw 3 passes, and I think Buffalo won the next one.
I thought so.
So, I mean, this is a chance to see who's going to come out on top for the season. But, we had a lot of wild stuff in that last NFL week. The national championship, of course. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. But to kick things off here, T's and P's, Don Maynard, Hall of Famer of that Super Bowl winning Jets team. Number 13, numbers retired. Joe Namath's #1 weapon. He recently passed away. T's and P's there. Then obviously we had the recent passing of John Madden, which Tyler dropped on us in the middle of the episode a couple weeks ago. Yep. So it's a sad time, man.
And speaking of T's and P's, we lost Betty White New Year's Eve, and then we lost Bob Saget yesterday.
I know. It's 2022. I mean, I still believe it's going to be a great year, but man, it's already kicking off with some kicks in the gut.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's take a look at previous week predictions. Unless you've got something anything on your mind you want to chat about.
If you don't mind, I'll just talk about my rebrand. This is the first time it's kind of out of there, kind of out speaking public. Which, I mean, if you pay attention to me on Twitter, or my Twitch, or you try to find me through links on Terrible Football Show, and it's not popping up, that's why I've rebranded. I've officially taken on with the Sparky 3 brand. I'm officially Razor E3. So streams will be starting back as soon as I can get new overlays and everything figured out. But yeah, so I think on Twitter the Razor E3 was already taken by somebody. So I'm E3 Razor on Twitter, Razor E3 on Twitch and YouTube, and I think it's E3 Razor on Instagram as well.
Right on. So looking forward to when streams can start back up. What all do you got on your radar? Just Fortnite and Madden right now until you can get a new PC to play some Halo or something?
Yeah, right now it just sticks to those games. I try to play Super People during our big time 24-hour stream, but like my computer was just not having it. So right now it's strictly Fortnite, Madden, I have Among Us I can play. I'm probably going to play some Ark Survival Evolved here soon, probably during our next 24-hour stream.
Right.
And I have some other games too that's downloaded. I just don't really have anybody to play with, so
I know that feeling.
pretty much is just stuck to those 3 games right now.
Hey, I don't know if it's in your wheelhouse, but that game I tweeted about the other day, the Forgotten City, that is a gem of a game.
I'm gonna have to look into it.
Yeah, it's a game that involves like a lot of like time travel, and you're basically trying to solve a mystery of what this tragedy that happened to this city. So basically, you come in here, you find like a bunch of like golden statues all over the place. You know the city is destroyed and stuff, and you find a portal that sends you back 2,000 years in the past when the city's alive, and that everyone's living under this golden law where if they steal or kill or even just attack someone or whatever, like they'll be turned to gold. And it happens. Like, if you steal something, they'll be like a God voice speaking where it's like the sins of one, causes the suffering of all. And the golden statues come to life, start shooting people with arrows, turn them to gold. And when that happens, you got to run back to the portal and go back in time again. Wow. And there's like 4 different endings for the game. It's just solving step-by-step mystery. So each time you find something new, go back in time again, it's a very fascinating game.
2 games that I'm excited about coming out with, 3 actually. They're coming out with God of War on PC.
Yep.
Here soon if it's not out
dropping
already.
very, very soon. Yeah.
And then I watched the trailer for the next Spider-Man game with it's gonna have Peter Parker and Miles Morales in it.
Spider-Man 2.
It looks good. And then also I saw a trailer today for the next Horizon game.
I'm so immensely excited for Horizon.
So excited for it. Yeah.
Like we have. From the time of this recording, we have 38 days until Forbidden West drops, and I am so pumped. But the one thing I'm not pumped about is fighting that giant-ass snake. I am not looking forward to fight. I'm not scared of snakes or anything, not like I am spiders, but it's just so fucking massive. I mean, look, the giant fucking T-Rex in the first one scared the shit out of me, especially when I forgot it was a thing, and I'm just walking around, minding my own business. I see this giant fucking thing in the distance walking. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I don't want to fight that.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's hop into some football talk here while the people are here, right? That or our bad takes, one of the two. I'm not sure which. Previous week predictions, I went 9-7 in the NFL. If we count the FCS championship game, I went 1-1 because I did not get the FBS correct, but I did get North Dakota State there. Tyler went 8-8 in the NFL, 1-1 in college. Shane, you went 11-5 in the NFL, pretty good there. 0-2 in college, but I'll give you like a slight 1 because you only picked Montana State to try to break it from, we were 1 game apart. I know you wanted North Dakota State.
I was about to say, if you go back to the last week episode, I said North Dakota State's going to win the game. But,
so I'll kind of give it to you, but for the sake of formality, unfortunately it's a loss. But I acknowledge what you wanted.
Yeah, I knew what I was. What my cards were being dealt with. So,
and then last week, of course, we did have a guest, Shane's friend Josh. He went 5-10 in the NFL for his first time predicting, but he did get the college. He get the championship right. So, but 5-10, whoo, that's rough. With predictions, with that being the final week of the NFL, we can finally take a look at how we did this past season. So for the NFL, I went 165, 106-1. Thursday Night Football, I went 10-8. Noon games, I went 88, 60-1. And of course, I've said before, the noon games does include the games that have been played on Saturday. Afternoon games, I went 44-26. Sunday Night Football, 13-5, pretty good there. Monday Night Football, 10-7. Then, recapping some previous stuff. College, I went 72-49. College bowl games, now that's wrapped up, 23-15. FCS playoffs, 15-8, bringing me to a grand overall of 275, 178-1. Not too bad. Hopping over to Tyler. Tyler went 157, 114-1 for the NFL. That's a 10-8 record for Thursday Night Football. 91, 57-1 for noon. 41, 29 afternoon. 10-8 for Sunday night, and 5-12 for Monday night. Not good there. 58-63 for college. 20-18 for college bowls. 9-14 for the playoffs, for FCS playoffs. That's bring him to a 244, 209-1. And Shane, since you've been on the show, you went 62-60 for the NFL, breaking that down a little bit further. 2-6 for Thursday Night Football, 36-31 for the noon, 17-15 for afternoon, 5-3 for Sunday Night Football, 2-5 for Monday Night Football, 17-15 for college games, 21-17 for college bowl games, 13-10 for FCS, bringing you to a grand total of 113-102. How you feeling about that?
Kind of disappointed on the Monday night and Thursday night games.
Right.
And then also kind of disappointed on the college bowl games because I started off so hot.
Yeah, you did.
I was like first for like the first 2 weeks. and then it all went downhill. As far as this college in general, I was expecting me to go a little bit higher than 17 and 15, but it is what it is.
Hey, we got this upcoming season. A chance to bounce back.
Yep.
I'd say the biggest area where I've got to bounce back is I got to get these spreads together. I'm going to have to actually really commit and do research and like follow these teams and how they, and because I listen to a lot of like mostly Hammer Down coming out of the Pat McAfee show, and them just breaking down each team where it's just like, they're this and this against the spread over the last X amount of games. I'm like, I need to do that too because I want to make fucking money.
Yeah, I'm happy. We introduced this 2 weeks into me, 3 weeks into me being here. So I'm glad I did the best out of all of us.
Yep,
because if not, then that'd have been pretty bad. But
for the spreads last week in college, I went 3-3, bringing me to a 2022 overall for college. 4-4 in the NFL, bringing me to a 22-20. Shane, you went 1-5 for college though,
yes,
but you did again. You are positive with a 24-20, and you went 3-5 for the NFL, bringing you to a 22-20. So again, positive for both. Josh, first time on the show, he went 3-3 college, 5-3 NFL, and then Tyler. I didn't actually end up getting his spread picks last week, so his final is just going to be 12-24, and then 15-19. I feel like he definitely needs the most improvement out of us. I feel pretty bad about my performance, but Tyler, I still say you don't need to bet, bud.
Not right now. Let's wait. Let's wait on it. Let's build the knowledge up a little bit.
Just do practice bets. Look at the lines and say, this is what I would bet on, and see how it goes. But just don't put the money on it.
Yes, don't put the money on it yet.
Just do some practice bets.
Don't worry. We'll work on it during the off season, and we'll get you right for next season. You'll be making some money.
We got it. We got it. All right, let's go ahead and jump into talking points. We'll start off with college because not a lot to talk about there. With college season pretty much done. We only had one game, being the championship. Shane, you got to check this out. You hit me up last night about it. I was dead ass tired, or I would have probably accepted your offer to watch it with you. But from what I saw, the first half was a real defensive battle, and second half Georgia just kind of lit it up a little bit with some good plays on offense and some more good plays on defense with that pick sealing it all. But how did you feel about the game?
Yeah, I think. So in the second half, in the first half, it was definitely Alabama's game to lose. They were definitely doing what they needed to do. They weren't scoring touchdowns like they normally would in the red zone, but that's just props to that Georgia defense, and more importantly, that Georgia front seven. They were getting pressure on Bryce Young, which they weren't able to do in the SEC championship game, and on Alabama's side as well, they were missing their starting right tackle, starting left guard, 2 receivers. They had 2 freshmen. Now, given they're very talented players still, but when you don't get reps in game and then you're thrown into a national championship game, and we saw early from Stetson Bennett in the first half, he kind of showed he was overwhelmed, right? First play of the game, he got sacked.
That's all I had,
A couple plays later, he fumbled the ball. So, and he wasn't and Georgia's offense kind of stalled out because I think the moment was kind of getting ahead of Stetson. But on the flip side, I think second half, it kind of got into Bryce's head as well because with missing all these pieces, he kept trying to be Superman, kept trying to do it all himself because running game wasn't happening. I think Bama's largest run of the game was 8 yards, and that was they had 1 yard, one rush for 8 yards, and that was it. So, Bryce Young on that interception that pretty much sealed the game, it was just a bad throw. If he would have thrown it 4 yards forward from where he was, it would have been a touchdown and probably been talking about a different game right now. But instead, he throws a bad throw. Georgia defender makes a good play on it, runs it back, and watching the replay, Kirby Smart's just in there yelling, go down, go down, go down. And Kirby Smart's literally chasing this man downfield, yelling at him, telling him to go down. But he runs it back for a pick six, pretty much seals the game. Final score was 33-18 or something like that.
33-18.
So, don't know what the over-under was, but I'm pretty sure. I know on ESPN last night before the game kicked off, it was 52. But I don't know what. I think we had it at 44.5. So it was definitely a bad beat for if so.
No, we had it at 52.
Oh, yeah?
52.5 is what we called it on.
Yeah. So that's what, 43?
Yep.
I think they went over.
No.
They didn't? Mm-hmm. Okay. Math is hard then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, none of us got that one right. We all predicted the over.
Which I think majority of America did, figuring what happened in that first game. But, I mean, I expected it to be a high-scoring game. I expected it to be like 35-24 or something in that range. I mean, that would put it at 59 points, which is clear the over. And I said it, when we first started talking about the national championship game, I figured that Alabama would win the game, but it'd be closer. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the score was a lot closer than what it looked like because of the last-second pick six. But, I mean, Georgia did what they needed to do. I said it. If they were going to win the game, they needed to get pressure on Bryce Young, which is something that was not existent when it came to that first game. And they were able to get not only pressure, but consistent pressure with only 4. Mm-hmm. So that made the game tough for Bryce Young.
Yeah, it did. And ultimately what it comes down to for pretty much any sort of these games, man, battles are won in the trenches. And that I feel like that was a great example of this game, is the battle was won in the trenches.
Yeah, and really the biggest upside was Georgia's offensive line. Mm-hmm. They they were able, on the running game, they were able to push Alabama's defensive line and linebackers back a yard or two to give, I can't think of his name, but Georgia's running back, room to run. I mean, that fourth quarter, it was 6-yard run, 7-yard run, 8-yard run, 9-yard run, 7-yard run. I mean, it was just pounding. And then they threw bomb off play action. That's what Georgia's been doing all year. They've been pounding the ball and running off play action. So, I mean, they did what they needed to do, and we all agreed at least when I first came on the show, that we all thought Georgia was the best team.
Yep.
And I kind of fell into that kind of Nick Saban, don't count him out after the SEC championship game, but Georgia proved it. They're the best team in college football. So, yeah,
100%. Also, I'm assuming, did you see the little presser after the game with Nick Saban with Bryce Young? I think Williams said that. That's a class act, though. I mean, I will say that. When it comes to Alabama, I feel like majority of the country just hates Alabama because they're always just good. But it's one of those things that you got to respect Nick Saban. You got to respect the team, in my opinion. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but what other reason do people have to hate Alabama other than a rivalry, or they're just good?
Yeah,
it's not like they're full of scumbags, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, they're definitely not. They're definitely not a team like.
They command your respect.
Exactly. And the only reason why you do hate them is off of respect, right? Yep. Because they do win so much. Because you are an Auburn fan, and it's a natural rivalry, right?
Yep.
So other than that, yeah, you're right. I mean, I have all the utmost respect for Alabama and Georgia, especially the way Nick Saban runs his team and doing what he did last night at that presser. Hats off to him. More coaches need to look at what he's doing.
Yeah, I agree. And I imagine how people feel towards Alabama is how people feel towards North Dakota State, too. 9 championships in, 11 years, I think is what they said?
Yep.
That's wild. That's a lot more dominant than Alabama.
Yeah. Yep.
So I imagine at FCS level it's the same thing. A lot of people probably hate North Dakota State because they win all the time.
Most definitely. And really, from my memory, North Dakota State just came out of nowhere.
Yeah. 11 years ago, just popped out. Just like, here we go.
Just whipping everybody's ass.
Well, I think they might have won some more championships mid-2000s, but it was only maybe 2 or 3, which is obviously still a lot. But, still, then the dominance happened. The dominance is what kind of came out of nowhere. Yeah. 9 out of 11. That's fucking unreal. Let's hop over to the next topic here, and we'll jump over to some pros. So, I've said before, I'm a Hawaii fan. I like my Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. There is a situation that we would like to talk about here because it's been a little bit of a conversation point for a little bit. I was talking to my buddy James today about it, and I was telling him, I've tapped myself in to the Twitter, Hawaii vein here of trying to catch all the people that actually live in Hawaii and the insiders and shit. So I've been kind of following something like this for a little bit now, but I mean, because it's gone on since the bowl game got announced, because that bowl game came out of nowhere. It was a makeshift bowl game, where Todd Graham's basically just a piece of shit. Is basically the base conceptions that I kind of gathered. The players didn't want to play for him. Hence, was all of the transfers they've gotten. They've lost so many players to transfers. It's unreal. And shout out to all those players. They're going to Power 5 schools and stuff. That's dope. But now there's more stuff that's been popping out over just how the student athletes have been treated. And there was one thing that came out from a tight end who actually played for Georgia. and he transferred to Hawaii in 2021. And this is going into his second full year with Hawaii. And he put out like a really long statement about Hawaii and the school and just like, how much he loves it, et cetera, and just the talent that Hawaii has. Because, I mean, again, these players are going to like Power 5 schools, except for a couple of them. Shout out to that. And he was just talking about the conditions for it, man. Like, in terms like, my playing weight at Georgia was 250. Now my playing weight is 230, but it's not by choice because he's like, during season, we'll get like, 2 meals a day, but now that it's off season, we're getting like 1 meal a day. Meanwhile, like, even if you don't really follow the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, I imagine a lot of people should at least know the top high school in Hawaii because a lot of great players come out of there. St. Louis High. I mean, that's the home of Marcus Mariota, Tua, for example, Orlin Kurtz of Chicago, Tyson Alualu. A lot of great players come out of that school. I mean, there are players from St. Louis currently on the Hawaii team that says that St. Louis has a lot better facilities and like nutrition program for players than this Division I college does. Or like, there are student athletes at St. Louis, they'll get like 3 meals a day easy, plus great facilities. This tight end further went on. I think it's Colby White, I think is what it was. It is the tight end's name. Let's give him some respect here. Was talking about how the facilities are crap. They're always flooded with other programs or whatever. It's just like, this is a Division I school, and where's the funding to support it? You know what I mean? And I don't know, man, this shines a lot of light on this program. And then it even gets worse when I saw the news thing that I shared earlier that you got, I know Tyler saw it, but did you see it as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Baffles me that this is like actual, like legitimate, like, oh, this is getting fucking real. Because when I first read it, I had to fact check. I'm like, wait a minute. Is this from an actual news source or is this like some insight? No, that's a legit news source where like one of the Hawaii state senators were saying the legislature would be willing to pay like $1.275 million to buy out Todd Graham's contract. If all this is true, man, this is a fucking wild situation. And dude, it baffles me that it can get this bad for this school because I understand it's like, Mountain West, kind of, subpar conference, one that, what do they call it? What are those 5 conferences? The G5, I think?
Yeah, group of 5.
Yeah, the group of 5. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's just like, I feel like Hawaii should sell itself most of the time. It's fucking Hawaii. You know what I mean? It's Hawaii, and you have like easily like top 5 best uniforms in the country, no contest, and again, it's Hawaii. I feel like this shit sell itself, to make it a competitive program. But man, what the hell is going on over there? I mean, for the fact that we have state senators that are stepping up saying that, hey, the legislature of the state is willing to pay this amount of money to buy out a coach's contract because of the possible allegations where it's affecting these kids. That's wild to me. This is an insane situation that I don't think people's talking enough about.
Yeah, I agree, and it's definitely like an unheard of thing, right? Like, imagine if like
let's put it in Arkansas. Let's talk about Arkansas there. Imagine if that came out of Arkansas, where like senators of the state of Arkansas would be willing to do that to get rid of Sam Pittman.
Yeah, or even before that, get rid of Chad Morris or something like that. Like that would have been. Just because I wouldn't say just because it's Arkansas, but just because we're a Power 5 conference, like that would be everywhere.
Exactly.
Everywhere. And like even going farther, like imagine if it was like a Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that the walls would be burning down around them. But I think just because it's Hawaii and it's a Mountain West team and that not everybody really gets to pay attention to if you're not an actual fan of Hawaii or just a football fan in general.
Right.
You're not really going to be paying attention to this, and it's something that definitely needs to be talked about because what the fuck is, like what you said, what the hell's going on down there?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, again, it's a D1 school, man. So like what Colby was saying about like where's the funding, like the money should be there. I mean, in my opinion, it should be there. Again, it's a D1 school. You're not a D1 school for nothing. I mean, you're there for a reason, and plus, again, it's Hawaii, dude. I mean, the state makes money. Like, let's be real, the state makes money.
They probably make 80% of their stuff just off of tourist stuff.
Exactly.
I mean, because it's fucking Hawaii.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, man. The situation's wild. I mean, in my mind, like, I've wanted Todd Graham to go for a little bit because I don't think he's the answer. I mean, I just don't. At this point, let's get June Jones back in there. Let's get June Jones back in there, dude. I mean, Todd Graham, in my opinion, just needs to go. This is ridiculous. And if there is like this sort of situation going on, which I mean, I saw no one dispute it. That's the big thing. No one disputed this. Like no other, student athletes, obviously. Which I mean, why would you turn against your teammate anyway? I guess, but no one else disputed this. Everyone's like, I saw people sharing it. It's like, oh yeah, this is happening. This is happening. We only get like one meal a day now. It's the off season, but that's fucking ridiculous to me.
Yeah, it really is. And especially for him to still come out and say like, Joy, I was a Bulldog and that was my alma mater, but now
his pride is here.
His pride is in Hawaii, and he will ever be a Raider or whatever, a warrior. And I mean, that's big time.
It is.
I mean, from a player and a big name player, a really good player to come from Georgia into Hawaii and then experience this type of stuff and speak out about it, to have not only the courage to do it, but because I mean, you got to think what is his teammates thinking right now,
right?
Like, oh well, yeah, it's a bad situation, but like, what are you to out what's going on here? Even though that, I mean, he's completely right that should not be happening. Yeah. But so.
And what you're saying about the courage to speak out, that's a big thing, because I mean, you got to think there's going to be a lot of players on that roster that are not going to know necessarily how to necessarily speak out. I feel like the only players that would really know to like point something out that something's really wrong is in a case like him, where he comes from another school, a Power 5 school, or like he even pointed out, let's say anyone that was recruited by Hawaii that was recruited from St. Louis, because apparently St. Louis is fucking popping, which I do understand that is the case. St. Louis fucking pops. So I mean, let's say you get some other kid that was recruited there, right, not a transfer from some kind of normal regular high school from like somewhere in Southern Cali or whatever. Like it's not like it's some fucking 5-star school. They may not know any better. You know what I mean? So for a guy like him to step up and like, yo, this is fucked up. Like
Yeah, it's definitely a thing to where like, typically if you're recruiting a kid from a lower end high school, they may be like, oh man, this is dope.
Exactly.
But seeing a guy coming from a Power 5 or like St. Louis High School inside of Hawaii, when that's not normal. You get 3 meals a day. You get proper facilities, proper weight room, proper nutrition, proper coaches with training experience as far as like athletic training to take care of your ankles and your body and things like that. With them not doing that, like, it's definitely like, come on now. There's some kind of funding that's either coming in and not getting there, or they're just saying fuck it and just not funding it, period. So there's definitely some stuff going on. Hopefully they get that figured out.
Yeah, and the last thing that I'll add there is like, Shane and I, we want to stress that, hey, we're not fucking idiots. We understand that like naturally Georgia's going to have a lot more money coming in. That's fucking obvious.
Of course.
But the bottom line is what Colby was pointing out. This is a Division I college, and the funding should reflect that. I'm not going to sit here and expect them to have the most unbelievable top tier fucking like locker rooms and shit that we've seen at schools, that look like a fucking pro team. I'm not expecting that, but at the very goddamn least, let's get fucking 3 meals a day to these kids.
Yeah.
At the very, come on. Like,
100%.
It's the little things like that make no sense. You know what I mean? It's 100%. The little things.
I mean, you can go to a school like Coastal Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that, and I guarantee you that they get 3 meals a day, and then plus their nutritionist snacks throughout the day, because they're not going without protein bars or or some kind of supplements to keep their body right. It's kind of like a bottom line type thing. Like it doesn't have to be, and not necessarily that they don't have the funding for it, but it is a Group of 5 team. They're not going to have the funding that Georgia has, or like a Texas, or like an Alabama, or even like an Arkansas.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even a top program as far as football, but our facilities are top 5 in the country. Mm-hmm. But that's just because, Walmart, and we got Jerry Jones backing us.
Yeah.
So that definitely helps. But
yeah.
it just comes to like all it takes is a bare minimum, and you can't even do that.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's what needs to be looked at. I'm going to continue to monitor that situation. We'll see what comes out of it. Let's hop over to some pro talk here, because obviously with the end of the regular season, we have what is notoriously known as Black Monday, where we start hearing about firings and stuff. One of these actually came out before Black Monday even came, because Denver, they played on Saturday and lost, and we heard Sunday that Vic Fangio was being fired. Then come Monday, I got the news that I've been waiting on. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace is gone. I knew Nagy was gone. Ryan Pace was the big question mark, if he was going to get moved to another role or not. I knew he was out as GM. Vikings fired their coach Zimmer, which not surprising there, but I think the surprising part was their GM Rick Spielman being fired. I think that caught a lot of people off guard. I was even listening to an interview on the Pat McAfee show with Ian Rappaport. Even Ian Flau said that one caught me off guard. I didn't see that one coming. But I think the biggest one that caught everyone off guard was the Dolphins firing Brian Flores. That one came out of left fucking field. I don't see how you can fire a coach that went 9-1 to end the year. I really don't.
Yeah, see, I was looking at ESPN. I was watching the national championship game when, like, it was scrolling on the bottom or whatever. Like, oh, they fire Flores, you know, and they were showing, like, his overall record. Like, they were showing the negatives, right? His overall record over the 5 seasons or whatever he's been there was, like, 26-25. He was 0-5 in the playoffs. So, like, looking at that, you're like, okay, he hasn't been doing that. But if you look at the kind of franchise that he was building, what kind of culture he was building, to go 9-1 and to beat the New England Patriots in the last game of the year, you've got to see that progress, right? And even if it took, okay, let's stick him out with another year. If he goes, you know, in 10 games, if he goes under 500, then we show, okay, he just got a good streak. But what if he would have been retained and they went 8-2 in the first 10 games, you know, next year?
Exactly.
But now you never know. You fired him, and honestly, he'll find a job somewhere.
Yeah, he's a top coaching candidate right now after this. And to my understanding, what it came down to is apparently him and the GM didn't get along, and the GM's been with the Dolphins since 2000. Not as a GM, he's only been GM for the past 5 years, but he's been with the Dolphins organization since 2000. Yeah. So that's what it came down to, is that him and the GM didn't get along. And I feel like hearing that news, I feel like that also puts in perspective a few of, kind of weird decisions this past offseason. Like, for example, cutting Kyle Van Noy. That made no sense to me at all. You just signed him the year before. He was a captain on your team. He had a really good year in Miami, and you cut him. And then he's now playing in your in-division rival, the Patriots, and you're still paying him while he's playing on the Patriots. Like, that made no sense to me. There were a couple other moves that didn't make any sense to me. And now I feel like maybe this has something to do with the GM, you know, where it's just like they just couldn't see eye to eye. Maybe Brian didn't want to do these things. Obviously, when it came to the Tua stuff last year with Ryan Fitzpatrick was on a fucking roll. I mean, he was leading that team, and then he just got randomly benched for Tua, which, again, it needs to happen eventually. It's your first overall pick, you know, your first round pick, whatever. But, I mean, you're taking – I feel like we've all seen it too many times where if you take away the hot hand, it's gonna fall flat for you. I mean, it's happened to the Bears before. I remember years ago when Jay Cutler went down and got hurt. I think it was Josh McCown, actually. Love Josh McCown. He got on a fucking streak. He had a hot hand. If I remember correctly, he threw 10 TDs to no interceptions in the games that he played. But, you know, once Jay came back and was healthy, we gave it back to Jay. And this is late season going into the playoffs. You know, if I probably would have kept – I like Jay. I've always been a Jay supporter, but I would have kept the hot hand. And it's the same thing with Miami. I would have kept the hot hand to Fitz. So I don't know. I feel like hearing that news that the GM and Flores didn't get along had a lot to do with it. But you're 100% right. I mean, the dude's going to have a job. I mean, he's already being lined up for different interviews that we've already seen. Another one that just opened up literally right before we started recording was Joe Judge. We saw the news yesterday for Dave Gettleman retiring, air quotes. It was in a situation of you can either retire or you're fired. It's one of the two. Yeah. And apparently the general thing that I'm hearing is that Dave Gettleman is apparently a nice guy, but just didn't do the cuts. They didn't want to fire him. And so it was like a forced retirement thing. But Joe Judge originally was supposed to be retained, which made no sense. 0 sense. But now he's out.
Yeah, which again, I think that kind of speaks for what the Giants, front office is a mess right now. Like, in my eyes, if you're coming out publicly Now, it's another thing if you say it privately and it gets leaked, because then you know, he say, she say kind of thing. But if you come out publicly in a presser and be like, yeah, we're going to retain him and Daniel Jones for another year, and then 2 weeks later fire him, it's like, okay. Now, what coach is going to go there and be like, okay, well, maybe whatever they say is a load of shit, like, you know. So that's kind of skeptical. It's in my opinion, with that front office, but
yeah, and to my understanding, it's just because that he lost the locker room. I mean, no one wanted to play for him, is what it came down to. I mean, he needed to go. I mean, first off, let's talk about what the fuck was that play on Sunday. Did you see that fucking QB sneak on your own goal line, a 3rd and 9 at your goal line,
yeah.
and you cover a goal line formation QB sneak? What are you doing?
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is that he was maybe hoping to get, you know, 2 to 4 or 5 yards or so just to give the punter more room. But even then, I mean, you have a fucking running back for a reason.
Yeah, just give it to I don't know if Barkley was playing or not, but just give it to whoever. You gotta, like, I understand Daniel Jones, man. He's got some wheels. Let's go ahead and give the man a little respect. But that situation was just stupid.
Yeah, he may not have balance, but he has wheels.
Yeah, that's true. He does not have balance. Speaking of, I like how Patrick Mahomes took a shot at that. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
It was in like a post game interview, whatever. Someone asked him about a run where he like stumbled and caught himself back up. He name dropped Daniel Jones.
Damn.
Where he was just like, yeah, you know, and no disrespect to him, but I did my best trying to pull a Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that was tough watching that live, dude. He's like 70-yard run.
I know.
Tripped the line, just reached up and grabbed his ankle, man.
I know, dude. All right, let's hop over and let's talk about some interview requests, because we've already kind of talked about Jacksonville a couple weeks ago, obviously, at some different interviews they were lining up. And a lot of these names are the same. I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, I haven't seen any Miami names yet. I have actually seen no news on Miami, but that's also because I'm hearing some rumors that maybe Jim Harbaugh to Miami, which I don't that's kind of interesting to me. I haven't seen anything really for Denver yet. I mean, not Denver, sorry, Minnesota, and it'll probably be the same names. And New York, so fresh that we probably won't see any names
I think
yet.
right now with the teams that just recently fired their teams, like the Giants and the Dolphins, they're going to wait for these other teams to interview since they've fired earlier and putting these requests sooner.
Yeah, they're going to try to follow suit, but they're going to be left behind. They're going to be left behind.
And it may come into a situation to where they're kind of just picking up from, you know, the rest.
Yeah, they might be stuck into that situation of grabbing the scraps. But let's start with one of your squads. Let's start with Denver. A lot of interview requests come in. A couple of these very interesting. So they have put in a request for the Rams OC Kevin O'Connell to be expected. KC OC. Eric Bieniemy, both Dallas coordinators, Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn. This one's interesting. New England linebacker coach, a former first-round draft pick, number 8th overall, I think, played at Tennessee in college, Gerard Mayo, a stud linebacker for the Patriots for a long time, man. Getting an interview request here. Philadelphia DC, Jonathan Gannon, and then Detroit DC, Aaron Glenn, and then the two interesting ones to me is Green Bay OC, Nathaniel Hackett, and then this one especially, Green Bay passing game coordinator, QB coach, Luke Getsy. Do you feel like those last two are maybe setting up to try to lure Aaron Rodgers to come to Denver?
I think most definitely.
Especially if you got the QB coach there.
I think 100%. I think they're going to have their top names, right? And for me as a Denver fan, and I saw my buddy Jeff, if you're listening to the show, I saw your post. He said, you know, why are we looking at so many defensive coordinators or defensive positions for a job? We need offense. Like, that's our struggle right now. Especially finding somebody that can evaluate quarterback talent.
Yep.
Or really evaluate talent, period. Because John Elway, he may be a very good businessman, but when it comes to evaluating talent and getting people in there and then getting coaches in there to bring these players up to speed on the NFL, he's not getting it done.
Yeah, and that's why he kind of fired himself and gave himself a promotion.
Yeah. So I think, honestly, in my personal opinion, in my top three, I would go after Eric Bieniemy first. And then it'd be Kevin O'Connell, and then, honestly, one of those Green Bay coordinators. just because of the likelihood of bringing in Aaron Rodgers.
I know.
Come off season, if you got to think, if which we all suspect that he's gonna
be done with Green Bay,
and
as a free agent,
free agent, gonna take open calls. Him going to Denver and being like, okay, and then John Elway's pitch is like, hey, we may have not pulled the trigger yet, or hey, we've hired Kevin O'Connell or Eric Bieniemy as our head coach, but we haven't hired an OC yet. And what do you think about bringing on Luke Getsy as an OC if you come here? Someone that you're familiar with, you have no ill will against, and we can run your type of offense.
Right. Now, one of the names on here I want to ask your opinion on right now, because we've actually already talked about this guy, but I'm hearing a lot of buzz right now that one name that's going to be pretty hot and potentially get a head coaching job is actually Kellen Moore. I'm not saying for Denver, but just in general. How do you feel about that? I mean, we've already talked about this where we felt like it may be too early, but I mean, that's what people thought with Sean McVay too, and Zach Taylor as well. Do you think it's time for Kellen Moore to get an HC job, or you think it still needs to wait a little bit? I feel like he needs to wait a little bit.
I think him and Byron Leftwich need to wait.
I agree,
because I think right now they're both under.
They're still new coordinators.
Yeah, they're very new coordinators, and they're under head coaches that have been there.
Yeah.
Right. You've got Brian Leftwich under Bruce Arians. He's been there. He's done that.
Yeah.
Even before he got to Tampa Bay, he went to Super Bowls. He's won Super Bowls. Like, he's done that. Same way with Mike McCarthy at Dallas. He's done it. So give it some time. Let's see some consistency out of these offenses first. Mm-hmm. Maybe another year or two, and then give them a shot. Now, will you ever know unless you do give them a shot? No. But me personally, from a front office standpoint, I would have to see more consistency through that particular position, which luckily Byron Leftwich and Kellen Moore are both offensive coordinators, or something to do with offense. I would have to see more consistency out of that in order for me to bring them in.
Right.
Because right now, especially with how the NFL is, you would hate to ruin that man's career, bring him in 2 years, you're going under 500 or at 500, miss the playoffs, and then boom, no one's ever gonna want to hire him. So
and then he has to go back to the grind and go back to OC. And same thing that happened with Josh McDaniels. He got his first HC job and only HC job in Denver, and it flopped horribly, and he just went back to being an OC. And that's how it goes for a lot of people. I mean, look, Dan Quinn, flopped in Atlanta, which everything went downhill after that fucking Super Bowl. And now he's back in DC and Dallas, got a pretty damn good defense, and now he's poised up to get another head coach. Same thing with Todd Boyles, flopped in New York. Granted, it is the Jets. It's kind of expected. But now he's being poised for another job as well. So, I mean, that could happen here. I feel like for Denver, if I was Denver, I would probably hire one of the Green Bay guys, or probably Eric Bieniemy for the head coach if it was my call. Let's hop over and talk about the Bears a little bit here. All right, so a couple of pieces of information that are very important to talk about, and I want to get your thoughts on one of these. The first one is, per George McCaskey, that Bill Polian is going to assist in the head coach and GM search. How do you feel about that? That's a big fucking name to help.
Yeah, that's definitely a big name. That name has a lot of weight on it.
It does. He's helped hire a lot of great coaches.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think it'll definitely help grab a name that they want.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, like we said, Bill Polian's had a lot of tug.
And I will say he's already the tug's already kind of been there, to my understanding, from what I've seen in the vein that I'm tapped into on Twitter with this, is that George McCaskey was the one that was very on the fence with getting rid of Ryan Pace, because he loves the fuck out of Ryan Pace, and Ryan Pace has done some good things. It's like when Ryan Pace hits a home run, he hits a home run, but by God, when that man misses, it is like he misses where he fucking spins around, fucking breaks his leg, fall. I mean, it's bad when he misses. And Bill Polian was the one that really pushed George, look, you got to fire him. I understand he's a great guy. You love him. I understand he's done some good, but you got to look at the misses. He's had some bad misses. He's got 2 playoff appearances in his time as a GM in 7 years as a GM and no playoff wins. So shout out to Bill Polian for getting that off our back. Yeah. But no, that does make me feel a little bit better as a Bears fan. The only thing that came out of that, I've seen a lot of hate out of that presser, where it's just a lot of Bears fans aren't feeling too good, and the big reason why is because George McCaskey is still like the guy. You know, obviously he's our CEO. And there was actually one reporter who, shout out to him, man, he really doubled down on it and didn't let George McCaskey get away from the question, is that he was asking George, like, you know, who holds you accountable? I mean, your time as a CEO have been very lackluster. And George tried to dodge the question, and then the guy followed back up like, no, I'm asking about you. Who is going to hold you accountable? Okay, how are you accountable in this situation? Not the players, not anyone, just you. And George just said, well, the board, you know, wants me to stay in this role still. You know, it's like, all right, cool. You look at the board. I mean, your mom is the fucking owner of the team.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. But anyway, another piece of news that this is a big deal for me as well, and a lot of Bears fans, is Ted Phillips is no longer over football ops. He's just on the business side. That is so fucking huge. He's been team president and football ops for fucking years, and the dude doesn't know a damn thing about football. To get him out of the equation, let him focus strictly on the money side of things, just setting up the contracts, handling, Arlington Park. George actually said that Ted is going to be leading the Arlington Park construction. And the process of finalizing the purchase on the land for the new stadium and everything, which I'm all for. Ted can do that. He's a great business guy, but he needs out of the fucking football. So with that, going forward for Chicago, GM will have all the fucking power, which is great, because the way it's always been is like GM reports to the president and the president goes, it's been a fucking stupid ass format in Chicago where GM has like half the power, and it's fucking ridiculous. But now GM has all the power, which is the way it needs to be. As for some interview requests and different rumors that I've seen, I'm not sure to pronounce this first guy's name. I'm probably going to butcher it, and I do apologize. All the respect to him, of course. Kiwasai Adofu Minsei. I probably butchered that terribly, but he's from Cleveland. He's VP of football ops. Shout out to him. Then we have Morocco Brown from Indianapolis, director of college scouting, which I saw some clips of him. This guy is fucking hilarious, and that's great, but it still doesn't completely sell me on him. Rick Smith, former GM of Houston. This is the GM that drafted DeAndre, J.J. Watt, Deshaun Watson, a lot of other players. Now, I will say Rick Smith's later round drafts, not the best, but he did pretty well in first round. But when it came to Rick Smith, you got to keep in mind, he wasn't necessarily drove out of town. That's the thing. Yeah, he could still be the GM right now. What reason why he's not is his wife unfortunately got cancer, and that's what led him to kind of step away. Plus, at the time, around that time period as well, the Texans owner, Bob McNair, passed away, so it was going on new ownership anyway, and they kind of wanted him out. So if it wasn't for those two factors, he'd probably still be the GM of Houston. And let's be real, Shane, you can admit it, Houston was a Super Bowl contender there for a couple of years.
Oh, most definitely.
So, Rick Smith is a good candidate. His wife did unfortunately pass away a few years ago, which I think is another driving factor for him wanting to get back into the industry in some capacity. Jeff Ireland, assistant GM of New Orleans. Ed Dobbs, assistant GM of Indy. Glenn Cook, VP player personnel in Cleveland. Joe Sharon, assistant GM in Buffalo. And Rand Carthon, the director of player personnel in San Fran. For me personally, I would love to see Rick Smith or Ed Dobbs, because God, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his name. The GM for Chris Ballard of Indianapolis GM. That dude is a fucking legend. He is one of the best GMs in the game, in my opinion. Ed Dobbs, the assistant to Chris Ballard, give me that, or give me Rick Smith. For head coaches, a lot of the same names. We've got the Byron Leftwich, the Dan Quinn. Haven't seen this, Todd Boyles. I put the wrong team there. I think we did put in a request for Dan Quinn. I have not seen anything for Kellen Moore. Nathaniel Hackett, we got to put in a request for that. Brian Flores, that's actually happening on Wednesday. And then Indianapolis DC, Matt Eberfluss. But then also both the Buffalo coordinators, Leslie Frazier, who did play on the 85 Bears, and OC Brian Dayball. And then we also got the interview request for Doug Peterson. Out of this list, for me personally, first off, keep me away from Leslie Frazier. I understand he's a great, he's kind of redeemed himself as a DC, but his one stint as a HC in Minnesota, his offense is lackluster as fuck. I'm sorry. I feel like we need an offense, like what you were saying with Denver. I feel like we got to have an offensive guy. I feel like we've got to. I really do. Especially when we got Justin coming into his second year. We got to, man. So for me personally, a perfect ideal scenario is give me like Rick Smith and Doug Peterson. That's what I would love. And yeah, there might still be the chance for Jim Harbaugh. I saw the odds. Jim Harbaugh still got the best odds. I think it was like plus 500.
Yeah, I saw right now, apparently sources close to Jim Harbaugh said that he'd be interested in coming back to the NFL if the situation was right, and the odds favorite right now was the Raiders.
Okay.
So like last week when we started talking about this and it was brought up, I was literally on my way home from the studio that we record in, and Todd McShay came on to ESPN Radio and was like, the Raiders probably would be the number one spot where he would go. So I like him in the Bears better. I think
it's a homecoming. We drafted him first round.
Yeah, I think it's a much better situation because I think if he goes to the Raiders, I like Derek Carr. Don't get me wrong, but the potential in Justin Fields is just so
enticing.
Much more enticing.
Yeah.
And especially like, the only thing that would draw me more to the Raiders is the weapons around Derek Carr. I mean, you got Josh Jacobs, you've got Darren Waller, you've got
Hunter Renfro's fucking popped off.
Which is, I mean, he's got 100 catches this year if I saw that right.
Yeah, Hunter's a beast.
So I mean, he's killing it. And I mean that defense is definitely showing potential. I mean, they stepped up in that overtime game against the Chargers. Shout out to my man Darius Philon. He was part of that last tackle that pretty much sealed it. So, I mean, that's the only thing that would draw me back. But strictly going off of just potential of being good for years and years to come, having Justin Fields and already a franchise quarterback there, it would have to be the Bears if I was Jim Harbaugh. But
right. And, you know, if Jim's in the picture, I would say give me Jim because, I mean, what people got to realize, dude, this guy coached 4 years in the NFL, and his worst season was a fucking 8-8. You know, he won the NFC West twice. He went to the NFC Championship 3 times. And he went to a Super Bowl once in 4 years. What the fuck are we talking about? Like, now, I understand you want to break it down more. You know, hey, he didn't have the most explosive offense. Okay, you know, he had Alex Smith for 1 year before he got shipped to KC, and he had Colin Kaepernick, which, yes, Colin Kaepernick kind of took the world by storm, and he was a baller. Let's be real, he was. But he was not what Justin Fields can be. That's, you know, let's be real up front. He's just not, okay? Colin Kaepernick had some explosive legs at times, and he did have a cannon. I'll give him that. But, you know, in terms of just being like a star of a playmaker, he doesn't, you know, Colin doesn't have the potential, you know, that Justin has.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me. I think the thing with Colin Kaepernick, I think even to this day, he could still be a starter in the NFL. But the thing is, we know what he is, right? Mm-hmm. There's no surprising a defense.
Yep.
The defense knows what he is. And I think that's really part of the whole downfall as far as, you know, his NFL career was because people figured out what he was, right?
Yeah, he did get figured out.
So, I mean, that's the biggest thing. And with Justin Fields, no one knows what he truly can do.
Yep.
I mean, dude's a baller. And he's still super young. I think he's like, 20, 21, 22 years old?
Yeah, yep.
So, I mean, you can have a franchise quarterback for 10, 15, 20 years if they treat him right.
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to these candidates, like I said, if Jim Harbaugh's on the table, give me Jim. After that, give me Doug. After that, I would say, actually, I'm going to say this, and I feel like I could regret it just because I can't help but to feel like he's going to be a bust as an HC. But give me Dayball after that, and then give me Brian Flores. I like Brian Flores a lot, man. I like his swag, you know. But you know, he's a defensive guy. You know, I think he was special teams coordinator, or no, he was the DB coach, is what it was. He was DB coach, I think, for New England. So I don't know. You know, if we get Flores, I'm not gonna be upset about it. But you know, like, just don't give me Leslie Frazier. You know, don't give me Byron Leftwich. Don't give me Dan Quinn. Don't give me Todd Boyles. Don't give me any of those guys. You know, let's focus on offense.
This is what I would do, right? If I'm either Chicago or Denver, and I'm really looking at Todd Bowles or even any defensive coach, and bringing them in, I'd be seriously in the talks with Kellen Moore or Brian Leftwich to bring them on as an OC and be like, look, man, if this doesn't work out, but our offense is playing well and you're doing your job right, you can fill in after we fire this guy.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's kind of shitty, but
shady practices.
It really is, and I'm not necessarily condoning that. But the NFL has done a lot worse stuff, and what's the problem with having a backup plan?
That's true. Hey, backup plans are important.
So,
And now one thing about all of these jobs, whatever, I posted this on Twitter, and I wanted to elaborate more on it. Where I post on Twitter at my Twitter at AlexLike23. Go give me a follow. I'd appreciate that. About why I think Chicago and Jacksonville are like probably in my opinion the best jobs, and I do mean that. I'm not, even though I do, they're my number one, number two teams, I'm not being biased about it. I genuinely do fucking mean this, because in Jacksonville's case, coming into this offseason, Jacksonville is number 3 in cap space available with $68 million. The two teams above them is Miami, which obviously has a head coaching spot, and the Chargers. I think they're both at $73 million to spend in free agency. Chicago has $43 million to spend in free agency, which is like number 10 or 11, and you can save some money on that this offseason. Right off the bat, go ahead and cut Eddie Goldman. Eddie Goldman, we signed to a contract a few years ago. We can cut him now and make up the money. He didn't play last year due to COVID because of I think he had a kid and his own personal health issues. No faults to him on that at all. But him playing this year, I mean, our 7th round draft pick, Chris Tonga, or I don't know if it's Chris, but Tonga from BYU, he balled out pretty well. Let's move on with him and move past Eddie, save more money there. So between money for free agency and then just like picks and team around you, like they are the most interesting jobs to me. I would actually say now that, it's in a position where the GM's going to have all the power and it's going to have a fresh new GM, I actually think Chicago could be the better job of the two, mostly because, Trent Ballock, down in Jacksonville can be apparently an asshole. I don't know. That's kind of what we got out of San Fran with Jim Harbaugh. But we'll start with Jacksonville. I mean, you got Trevor Lawrence, okay? You have James Robinson. You got a pretty good receiving core. You got a good vet, Marvin Jones. You got Laviska Shenault. Drawing a blank on the other guy's name of the guy, but they got a good receiving core. O-line needs help. That's an area where they can spend some fucking money. The defense, I mean, you got Josh Allen, the defensive version of Josh Allen. That's a fucking monster. Miles Jack can still be a pretty good player. Secondary could use some help, yeah. But you got some good foundation building blocks, and then you have the first overall pick again, and then a grand total of 11 picks in this upcoming draft. Like, does that not entice you? Like, I feel like that's a pretty good enticing pitch.
Most definitely. It's definitely in the right hands. You could set up a team for the future.
Yeah.
May have a couple of bad 2-3 years, but moving on for that, it could be a potential of building, I wouldn't say a dynasty, but a team that's contending for the playoffs or a championship every year.
Exactly. And then for Chicago, I already said we got $43 million plus more you can save by the cutting of like Eddie Goldman, maybe cutting Jimmy Graham. I don't know the contract, how it's going to go for like Eddie Jackson, if we would lose money, if we could save money there. But that's one that I would look to try to dump and maybe do a trade, because Eddie Jackson has gone like, I think 33 games now without an interception. I mean, we got to get this shit together. I mean, why are we paying him what we're paying him? But, in the Bears case, we got the potential of Justin Fields. We got David Montgomery, okay? We have Darnell Mooney. We have Cole Kmet, which has, he's had his best receiving year now with almost 700 receiving yards this past year, which, that's not bad for tight ends. I mean, there's only a few tight ends like the Travis Kelce, of the world that will get over 1,000. Let's be real. Offensive line, got some good pieces there. Cody Whitehair. We have James Daniels, Larry Borom, a rookie. Tevin Jenkins, a rookie. Jason Peters, if that big motherfucker wants to come back, he played pretty well this year. Dude was down fishing. He got a call to come up to Chicago. He's like, yeah, sure, and fucking balls out. And then the defense, bro. You got a good young building block on Roquan Smith on a rookie contract. You got Khalil Mack coming back healthy. You re-sign Akeem Hicks up on the D line. You got Jalen Johnson, a young player at DB. And then also, big kudos to Ryan Pace, because I mean, I got to be honest, dude. Like this past draft class of his is probably the best one he's ever had, man. Because Larry Borom was a 6th round draft pick at guard out of Missouri. We shifted him out to fucking tackle. Week 1, we play the Rams. He's going up against Aaron Donald all game and doesn't give up a sack. He goes up against other studs, throughout the year. I think he went up against Von Miller at one point against, I don't know if it was Von Miller or someone else. Myles Garrett is who it was, week 3. Didn't give up a sack. I mean, dude, Larry Borom, for a 6th round draft pick that got shifted out to a position he doesn't play, has played pretty well. Thomas Graham, he was, I think, a 6th or 5th round draft pick out of Oregon, DB. He opted out for the COVID year, so he hasn't played in since 2019. We actually cut him and signed him to the practice squad, which I understood because, hey, he hasn't played in a while. Let's get his body kind of readjusted. But we reactivated him the past like 3 weeks, and the dude's already dude's already fucking balling. He didn't get a pick, but dude's getting some deflections. He's making some smart plays. Daz Newsome as well, a wide receiver from North Carolina. Ryan Pace gave us probably the best draft class that we've got. Tonga as well, like I mentioned already. He could be our future D tackle, our future nose. So I mean, I got to say, I really do believe the Bears and the Jags are the two best spots for coaches to come, because you got so many fucking pieces. Jacksonville has less pieces. Let's acknowledge that. They stink. They have a lot less pieces, but you got a shit ton of money and a shit ton of draft picks. Let's make some magic happen.
Yeah, 100%. And on the flip side, I mean, looking at my team, Seattle's not very intriguing right now. Front office is a mess. Don't know where Russell Wilson's going to be at. Don't know where Pete Carroll's going to be at. Pete Carroll very well may end up in Miami. Because if I'm Pete Carroll, Miami's very intriguing. Cap room, you got Tua. You've got a young team to build around. And I don't know what their draft picks are looking like, but it's better than what Seattle's got.
That's true. Seattle don't have shit for picks. I mean, I think Seattle's almost as bad as the Rams sometimes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would definitely agree. They're definitely up there. Other than, like, Minnesota, but they're already pretty much set. Like, that's already a playoff team. Just got to get the right coaching in there.
Yeah.
So, other than those, like, out of the rebuilding teams, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Speaking of draft, we actually got now the first 18 picks ready to go. So, here in the next few weeks, this is actually going to be pretty cool. I'm actually really excited to do this. Shane and I and Tyler, we're going to work together, and we're actually going to create our own top prospects for the draft. We're going to just do top fives per position as well as top 5 overall. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really pumped for that. We're going to be doing a lot of draft talk for this offseason, mock drafts and everything, see if we can correctly predict how it's going to go. But as of right now, for the first 18 picks, obviously Jacksonville 1, Detroit 2, Houston 3, Jets 4, Giants 5, Carolina 6, Giants again via Chicago at 7, Atlanta 8, Denver at 9, Jets at 10 via Seattle, Washington at 11, Minnesota at 12, Cleveland 13, Baltimore 14, Philadelphia 15, Philadelphia again at 16 via Indianapolis, Chargers at 17, and the Saints at 18. Man, the fact that we've talked about it before, but the fact that the fucking New York teams both have 2 picks in the top 10 is the most New York thing to happen.
Most definitely.
I'm pumped for the draft.
And speaking of what we got planned, I would love to, like, maybe 3-4 weeks out of the draft, me, you, and Tyler come up with a mock draft each week leading up into the draft.
Mock draft a week.
Yeah, kind of like what Mel Kiper does, and Todd McShay with their, mock drafts, like 5.0s and 6.0s or whatever. I would love to do something like that. So,
hey, dude, I'm down for it. I do a lot of mock drafts, so I'm already cleared on that. But yeah, I could probably swing a mock draft a week, or however we're gonna do it, because we still don't even know our recording schedule for the off season.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get that figured out, but that's something and it doesn't have to be like right now to where we're like they're doing, but definitely when, like, after the Super Bowl and maybe a month or so out from the draft, start looking into it. And once we get our schedule figured out for what we're going to record for the off season. But, so right now, what would you say the top 5 picks are going to be?
Jacksonville and Detroit, I feel like are just going to go the 2 D linemen, whether it be Aiden and Kavon. But I will say a surprise pick. I think Jacksonville could probably also do like an Evan Neal lineman from Alabama. Because, I mean, like I said, I already mentioned that O-line in Jacksonville needs fucking help terribly. You got to protect Trevor. So I think they'll either just go Aiden or Kavon, or Jacksonville could do the swing pick. And
honestly, I don't think that would be such out of the ordinary, because you got to think Jacksonville. They've already got it's Josh Allen, right?
Yeah, he's an outside linebacker, pass rusher.
So I mean, yeah. Would you love to couple him up with somebody else? Yes, but honestly, look at the history and see how many times that's actually worked. Right? I mean, in Cleveland at one point you had J.J. Vion and Myles Garrett. Didn't really work that well. Same way in Houston. At one point you had J.J. Vion and J.J. Watt. Didn't work so well.
Right.
So, maybe it's better to only have, I mean, of course you want all the talent you possibly can get, but it may not be best to have 2 potential Pro Bowl defensive ends coming from opposite sides, because for some reason, from what I've seen, it hasn't really worked.
Yeah.
So honestly, if I was Jacksonville, I would definitely go offensive lineman. and then
Detroit and Houston to get the D lineman.
Yep.
For the Jets, that's the tough one. Would they just automatically try to build up that secondary, maybe get Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame, or would they go somewhere else? And
honestly,
the same thing with the Giants.
If I'm the Jets, I'm getting the cornerback out of Cincinnati.
That cornerback is a fucking beast. I don't care what anyone says.
In 4 years at Cincinnati, did not give up a touchdown.
That dude is a fucking monster.
That is nuts.
He needs to go top 10 in my opinion.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, dude is an absolute freak. So what will the two New York teams do? That's a great question. I feel like, Bob Saleh being a defensive guy here, I feel like he'll probably go defense, whether it be the cornerback out of Cincy or Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. Build up that secondary a little bit, But no, I'm excited to start doing some mock drafts, get these players kind of set up. Because I think it's, today is the 11th. So I think it's the 17th is the deadline for underclassmen to announce if they're entering or not. We've already seen a lot of announcements, like Aiden Hutchinson, for example.
Well, I thought it was last Friday, because that's why Arkansas's Bumper Pool announced that he's coming back. Because I don't know, it could have been not necessarily announcing, but to hire an agent.
Right.
But then again, if you don't hire an agent going into the draft, that pretty much tells me that you're coming back.
Right.
So I don't know.
I think the deadline is the 18th. I think it's next week. I think. I could be wrong. I looked it up 3 weeks ago, but that's 3 weeks ago. I've slept a lot since then.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But let's do some playoffs here, man. Let's talk some playoffs. Final ranks for the NFC: Green Bay at 1, Tampa Bay 2, Dallas at 3, Rams at 4, Arizona 5, San Fran 6, Philly at 7. How do you think the NFC is going to go? I feel like, man, I feel like this Green Bay team is a lot different than last year in a good way. I feel like it is going to be Green Bay this time around. I don't think if Tampa Bay meets up with Green Bay in Lambeau, I don't think Tampa Bay is going to get that dub again.
Yeah, I agree. I think out of that, I would love to say Dallas could have potential going there, but they're at a standpoint to where I have to see them win a playoff game.
Yeah.
Get over the hump in order for me to believe in you.
And what about the Rams, too? Because, man, Stafford's still been throwing a lot of picks towards the end of this year. I'm worried for the Rams.
That's why my two favorite are going to be the top seeds right here. Are my favorites out of the NFC for the championship game is going to be Green Bay and Tampa Bay. And then, your sleepers, I would take the Rams over Dallas just because of potential of what that team can do.
Right.
And what they were in the beginning of the year. Arizona, I don't think they can stay consistent enough.
Hey, J.J. Watt's coming back, though.
True. But still without D-Hop.
Yep. Still no D-Hop, yeah.
So, I just don't see them doing it. And San Fran and Philly, I would love to see Philly kind of make a run, but pretty sure they got Tampa first.
Yep, they were going against Tampa first.
So
I don't see that happening.
Yeah, no shot.
I will say, watch out for San Fran. I feel like they could be a sneaky win versus Dallas. It's gonna be tough because if San Fran's issue right now is at quarterback, because if I remember right, whatever Jimmy Garoppolo's injury is, I think it was it's described as muscle torn off the bone on his hand. That sounds horribly fucking painful. I can't imagine throwing a ball with that. So shout out to him.
No.
But San Fran could be a sneaky one.
Yeah, I did see something saying that he could be back for that game. I don't know if it's going to true or not, but we'll see. If Trey Lance starts that game, it's going to be tough. I think as much credit as I give Trey Lance, and I probably overhype him on this show. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he has potential to be much better than what Jimmy G is right now. But he just got stuck in a shitty situation because Jimmy G can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And I've said this over and over and over again. I don't like rookie quarterbacks being shoved into a crappy situation.
I agree.
So.
And then for the AFC side, number 1 seed is, in fact, Tennessee. They locked that up.
Which is huge.
It is.
Huge.
It is, because they get that bye, and Derrick Henry is coming back with fresh fucking legs. We talked about this last week. That is a team that I do not want to play against if I was in the AFC. KC at the 2 seed, Buffalo at 3, Cincy at 4, Vegas at 5, New England at 6, and Pittsburgh got in at 7 since Jacksonville wanted to create chaos and beat the Colts this past weekend. And then Vegas and Chargers, they almost went for that tie. From what I saw,
I was hoping for it so
bad.
bad.
I wanted it so bad too. Apparently, from what someone caught of a video of Austin Eckler talking to a Raiders, just like, were you guys going to go for knee it down? And the Raiders just like, we were, and then you guys called a timeout. So that would have been wild. They were really going for the tie, dude, which is insane to me. But how are you feeling about the AFC? Because I gotta, like, if it wasn't for Derrick Henry set to come back with fresh legs, I would say Tennessee will get knocked out round 1. But man, in that situation, plus Ryan Tannehill's got a pretty decent head of steam after the last game. He threw, I think it was like 22 for 29 for 4 TDs. Man, I gotta say, Titans are looking like the favorite.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of buddies of mine, Connor and Blake, last night, and they're big NFL guys. I'm not as big NFL guys as they are. They follow it a little bit more than I do, and I've been following it more since I've been on the show, just because even though it's a terrible football show and it may not be the best, I try to give at least somewhat acknowledgeable information.
We do our best to give you a B minus performance.
Yeah. Right.
B minus. Maybe a C plus.
We just try to get it past that buffet, that passing grade.
Hey, D's get degrees, baby.
Yep. So, and his favorite was both of their favorites was still Kansas City.
Fair.
But I tried. I was like, man, like, don't get me wrong. They played awful in the first half of the year. Second half, they definitely came on, and they're getting hot at the right times, right?
Which is important.
But 2 weeks ago, they lost Cincinnati. And then plus Tennessee coming in, winning, getting that first seed without Derrick Henry, adding an extra week to have him even healthier, and then fresh legs because he hasn't played since week 8.
Yeah, week 7 or 8. It's fucking stupid.
It's week 8, and he's still 7th in the rushing leaders.
So dumb.
With 937 yards. This man is going to be a freight train.
Yes.
So, because if I'm not wrong, Kansas City's playing Pittsburgh,
Pitt,
right?
Yeah, they're playing Pitt.
So Kansas City wins that game. So then they'll play the 3 seed.
They'll play whoever's the highest that wins. Is what it will be. So, like, let's say,
because they get home field advantage.
Yeah, they'll play the highest seed that wins. So, like, let's say Cincy beats Vegas, and let's say New England beats Buffalo, then KC would play Cincy again for a rematch.
KC would play Cincy, and then Tennessee would play
New England.
And New England's run defense is not that
fucking
good.
Garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fucking Buffalo put some yards on them.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. So I mean. Not Hunter Henry. Derrick Henry could run for 300. I mean, it'd be crazy. They're definitely my favorite personally right now. I think it's Tennessee, Cincy, and then KC.
Right.
And the only reason why I put Cincy above KC is because how they beat them 2 weeks ago.
Right. Man, I'm pumped for the playoffs to start. With the playoffs here, it's the big questions ramping up right now for Coach of the Year. I mean, I feel like the top 2 contenders going to be obviously Matt LaFleur or got to be Mike Vrabel. I mean, for what Mike Vrabel has done with no fucking Derrick Henry, who everyone thought was like, well, that's your team, but then he proved him wrong. I mean, one of those two's got to be Coach of the Year. I'd give it to Mike.
That or it's the Raiders' interim head coach.
No, that's fucking true. Rob Bersucci, I think's his name. That's fucking true. I mean, the adversity they have gone over is unreal, man. Between the fucking John Gruden stuff, the Henry Ruggs dumb shit, the other corner they drafted in the same draft as Henry Ruggs, Damon Arnett. I think they had that video with the gun where he's like, I'm gonna fucking shoot you, whatever. Another guy got pulled over with a DUI recently. Like, the amount of shit that Vegas has gone through and they made it in the playoffs is unbelievable.
Yeah, and especially made it in the way they did.
I know.
So, I mean, I would definitely put him in the conversation as well.
Get an honorable mention.
Yeah.
All right, so a couple things of quick news here is Tampa Bay did extend Vita Vea on a 4-year extension worth $73 million. Shout out to that. And the Rams safety Jordan Fuller will miss the postseason due to an ankle injury that needs surgery, unfortunately. So that's going to be a big factor there for the Arizona game. Jordan Fuller has had a pretty good year so far. Good year last year. Coming in this year was his first year as a captain for the team. So it's going to be a rough one there. You got any more thoughts on anything that we just talked about, the playoffs or the draft or anything? If not, we can go ahead and jump into some super wild card weekend picks.
I was wanting to bring up something me, Connor, and Blake was not really arguing about, but debating about. And I said I was going to bring it up on the show to see your thoughts on it, but honestly, I forgot what it was.
Ah, damn.
So
you got me excited there.
I know. Because I had the odd man pick out of those two, if I don't believe, but I think I kind of starting to win them over on it. But Connor, Blake, if you're listening to the show, please send me what it was because I totally forgot to where I can put it in the show for next week.
Bet.
But other than that, no, let's go ahead and get these picks.
All right, still haven't updated the music. I promise I will.
By this time, it's going to be the next season, guys.
Come on, man. No, look, I have some songs picked out. I just need to get it, like, on the fucking Roadcaster, okay? I promise. All right, super wild card weekend. We are here. Kicking things off, we have 5th seed Vegas going up against 4th seed Cincy. Tyler's rocking with Vegas on this one. I'm going to rock with the Bengals, man. I think they are fucking hot right now.
Yeah, I think with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and that offense with Joe Mixon, I don't see Vegas being able to stop them.
Next up, 6 seed New England and 3 seed Buffalo. This is a tough one to pick, man. I'm really on the fence.
Yeah, I would love to see Buffalo win and to move up and kind of show their dominance in that through that division because they're in the same division, but I just don't think they've got over the hump. I mean, they've played so inconsistently over the year. I'm going to have to go New England.
Tyler's naturally going Buffalo. I probably wouldn't let him pick otherwise. I think I'm going to rock with New England. I just have a gut feeling they're going to get the sneaky dub. 7 seed Philly and 2nd seed Tampa Bay. How are we feeling on this one?
I think it's Tampa Bay.
I do too.
I just don't think Philly is going to have the weapons to deal with that team.
I agree. So does Tyler. 6 seed San Fran, 3 seed Dallas. Tyler's actually going with San Fran here.
I would not be surprised if San Fran upsets Dallas and sends Dallas home early, but I'm going to stick with the Cowboys. I'm gonna put my trust in them this week, and we'll see how it goes.
I'm going with Dallas as well, man. Did you see some of the records that they broke?
Yeah, and honestly, the reason why I'm doing it is because they put 51 up last week.
Yep.
And yeah, they have 1,000-yard rusher, 1,000-yard receiver, 3,000-yard passer, and 2 defensive players with
10 sacks and 10 picks.
Yep.
Fucking insane, dude. Tyler, like I said, Tyler's going to San Fran. I'll rock Dallas in that one. Next up, we have the 7 seed Pittsburgh, which just happened to get in against 2 seed KC. I see no way Pitt's going to be able to put up a fight. They just don't have the offense for it.
Yeah, it's not going to be close.
Fucking
unfortunately.
Big Ben's got a noodle arm.
Yeah, Big Ben at this point, he's having his offensive line just help him get the ball out. So unfortunately, this is a farewell tour for Big Ben, and this will be his last playoff game.
Now, they don't all end in wonderful fashion like Ray Lewis's career did. Sometimes you got a career like Drew Brees where you end with heartbreak. That's how it goes. Next up, we have probably one of the more difficult games to pick. 5th seed Arizona and 4th seed the Rams. I feel like this is a hard game to pick.
I think it is too, but this is my reasoning here. Again, they've both been inconsistent throughout the year, but the Rams have always bounced back. Plus, Arizona's not having D-Hop. I know J.J. Watt's going to help them a lot on defense, but comparing the two teams, comparing the two quarterbacks, I'm going to put my trust in Matthew Stafford. Even though I've been on this show, I've been riding with Arizona. I've been a big fan of Arizona all year. They've consistently let me down, so I'm going to roll with the Rams.
There's a part of me that wants to ride with the Cardinals because Cardinals was one of my preseason picks. They were one of my, Kyler was one of my preseason MVP picks. So was Stafford. But man, I feel like it's going to go to the Rams. It wouldn't surprise me. This is one of those games where it could go literally either fucking way. But I think I'm going to rock with the Rams on this one. Next up, we got your spreads. What do we got going on? We're calling every game.
All right, Shane Sharp picks of the week, which we got, which is not really picks because we're calling all playoff games. So the NFL Super Wild Card Weekend, we've got Game 1 in Vegas and Cincinnati. That's currently sitting at 49 over under. Cincinnati's a 5.5 point favorite. It opened up at a 48 over under with Cincinnati as a 6.5 point favorite.
Give me the minus and give me the over. Tyler's doing the plus and he's doing the over.
I'm doing the minus and over.
Okay.
Second, we got New England and Buffalo. It is currently sitting at 43.5 over under with Buffalo as a 4 point favorite. It opened up at 44 over under with Buffalo as a 4.5 point favorite.
Give me the over and give me the plus.
It's in Buffalo, correct?
Yes.
I don't know how the weather's gonna be, but give me the plus and under.
Tyler's doing the minus and the over.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's got over on all of them.
No, he's actually got under on this next one.
Oh, really? Okay. I must have saw it wrong. All right. Philly and Tampa. It's currently sitting at 49 over under. Tampa Bay is an 8.5 point favorite. It opened up at 48.5 over under, and Tampa Bay 8.5 point favorite.
That's a lot of points.
49.
Give me the over, and I'm gonna just rock with the minus. Tyler's doing minus and under.
I'll do. I'll do minus, and I'll do under as well. I think Tampa Bay is going to want to get out of there as quickly as possible. So.
Right.
Next game, we have San Fran and Dallas. It's currently sitting at 51 over under. Dallas is a 3 point favorite. It opened up at 49.5 over under with Dallas a 3 point favorite.
Minus and over, man. I feel like Dallas can put the 51 on their own.
Yeah, I agree. Minus and over for me.
Plus and over for Tyler.
And then the second to last game, we got Pittsburgh and Kansas City. This one's kind of intriguing to me.
It is, yeah.
So it's currently sitting at 46.5 over under with KC at basically it's 12.5, but so basically a 13 point favorite, but it's 12.5, and it opened up at 46.5 with KC at 11.5 favorite.
Well, I'm going with the over. So is Tyler, and Tyler's doing the plus. He thinks Pittsburgh's going to keep it within that 13. And man, that's tough, dude. Pittsburgh's offense is duty, man. It's crap.
I do agree, but the way I see it is kind of what I see Tampa Bay. I think Andy Reid's going to want to get out of there. I think Andy Reid's going to show the respect to Big Ben and Mike Tomlin. I don't think he's going to try to put up this large gap because the points don't matter. I think if he gets up 2 touchdowns, or even gets up 10, he may sit on it, especially late third, early fourth quarter. So I'm going to take the plus. Even though I think Kansas City is going to win, I'm going to take the plus. I think it'll probably be a 10 point win for KC or a 7 point win just because of Andy Reid. And I'm going to take the under.
I'll rock with the plus. We'll see if Pittsburgh can keep it within that.
Let's say I said that for last week for the Tampa Bay game, and I said the under, and it clearly was not, or for the Dallas game, and it clearly was not.
Yeah.
So last game we got is Arizona and the Rams. It's currently sitting at 50 over under, and the Rams are a 4 point favorite. It opened up at a 50 over under with the Rams at a 5 point favorite.
Give me the minus and over. Tyler's doing minus and over as well.
50. Yeah, give me the minus and over.
All right. That is all the picks. Let's hopefully we can have a good weekend here of some betting. Most importantly, hopefully we can get some dubs here on the spreads. Let us build up some confidence, as mobile betting is close to becoming a thing for us. Gonna have to learn.
Yeah, they said it could hit as early as next month.
I know. It's wild. Gonna probably try to get a little adjusted to it. Maybe do some basketball betting or something. Especially with March Madness coming up.
True.
Yeah, I got March Madness. Can do a lot of betting there. What's for dinner tonight? What you gonna have, man?
Honestly, I have no idea yet.
I think I'm gonna have a steak. I got a steak in there. Probably gonna do that. Yeah, probably gonna do a steak.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds good. How do you like your steak?
Medium rare.
Medium rare. Okay.
I like some pink, man. I mean, I'm fine with rare too. Just give me. I need the pink. Medium rare.
I think medium for me is the go-to.
As long as it's not well done, I have respect for you as a human being.
Yeah, I used to do medium well quite a bit. Like that's what I was because there's just enough pink to where it's still kind of juicy. But what I found out to do if I didn't cook it myself, I went to a restaurant. I was like, oh, medium well, it'd come out well done.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
And I was like, man, I can't do this anymore.
Man, I've got one buddy who I've actually got lined up to do a show with me at some point in the future. Really excited for that show. He likes his steaks well done. He is a fucking animal. I don't know why. I don't know. Like he wants them burnt, like full blown burnt. I'm like, you ruined a perfectly good piece of meat. Like, what is wrong with you?
I mean, the way I see it, even with a medium rare steak, the only reason why I like burnt, right, is because you get that crisp edge. It adds a nice crunch to the steak, along with the juiciness. But you can get that on whatever. Yeah. Right? You can have a medium cooked steak with a burnt edges as long as they just sear, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm gonna do a thing. I think I'm gonna do a steak tonight. I do have a frozen breakfast pizza. Found it at the store. That was pretty interesting.
How was it?
The breakfast pizza that I got from Walmart, that was fucking fire. In fact, I bought another one like 2 days later. Hell yeah. $7, dude. It's just over there in the deli. I definitely recommend that. Dude, look, man, listen. It's that gravy base. It just hit different. I mean, you already got like the biscuit crust, but then the gravy base, bro, it hit different.
Oh, dude, I bet it's just like sausage and biscuits.
Yes. Sausage, dude. I'm telling, because like
I've been craving some of that so much.
Just run by Walmart, grab it, dude. $7 in the deli. You can walk in and out pretty damn quick. Just go in like the left entrance, pop to the left real fast, grab it and go. You're good, dude. I'm telling you, because like most breakfast pizzas that I've had, like Come and Go and a couple other places that I've had it at before, as well as like this one hotel that I've been to had breakfast pizza for a breakfast buffet. They usually just have like a cheese base, normal shit, right? But I'm telling you, that gravy base hit fucking different. It was so good. Highly recommend it.
Was it white gravy?
Yes.
Oh,
dude, I'm telling you, it hit different, bro.
I think it was like a month ago. I was craving biscuits and gravy, and
those cravings hit.
Yeah, and I went to McDonald's, and they don't do theirs anymore.
Oh, do they not?
Yeah, I was so mad. I was like, I pulled up, waited in line because McDonald's and breakfast time is fucking packed.
Yeah.
And especially one in our area doesn't run that very well. So I was sitting there in line 10, 20 minutes. Got up there. Hey, can I get a biscuit and gravy? I'm sorry, we don't do that anymore. I said, okay, thank you. And I drove off.
Yo,
I said, fuck that.
Man, I got to make a high recommendation here for some fast food gravy. Go hit up Dairy Queen for breakfast.
Really?
Yeah, and hit up their biscuits and gravy, or like the chicken and gravy burrito. Hit one of those up, bro. That's actually fucking low key fire. Like their Dairy Queen's breakfast menu is stupidly small, but god damn it, is it good.
Yeah, I ended up going to Burger King, which, don't get me wrong, it was still really good. But, man, it was something about those old-timey. I remember it used to come in this yellow, styrofoam with McDonald's.
Yep.
With a yellow top and, like, the red lettering.
Yep.
Nothing like opening that up and seeing the smoke from the biscuit. Oh, that was...
All right, so all this talk, man, the steak might have to be tomorrow. I may have to do that frozen breakfast pizza. The frozen breakfast pizza is not like the one that I had. Like it doesn't have a gravy base, unfortunately, but it's still a breakfast pizza, so it's close enough. Yeah. So I may have to do that.
I will say, I don't like I said, I don't know what I'm going to have for dinner tonight, but last night I did have some homemade wings.
Ooh.
Had drums and legs.
Oh.
And had homemade garlic parmesan. And then a Thai Asian barbecue.
Bro, speaking of that, did you see that fucking Taco Bell has wings? I'm so brutally disturbed by this.
Yeah. I haven't ate Taco Bell since they got rid of the Mexican pizza. Yeah. And I will definitely not go there now that they have wings.
Yeah, like I saw that on like Twitter and stuff. They have wings. I'm like, bro, this disturbs the fuck out of me. And I sent it to my friend Andy, who's a big Taco Bell guy. And he's just like, I went there the other night and I saw it on the menu and I thought I was having a fever dream. And now you sent me this and I'm like, oh shit. And he sent me a TikTok earlier where someone's just like, just had Taco Bell wings. Just like, I don't feel too good. And it shows like all the wings eaten. And then it shows like the next shot is, I don't think that the wings actually did this. It's just for the meme of the TikTok. But then the next shot shows him in a hospital with looking at the screen. He's like, bro, the Taco Bell wings put me in the hospital, which I don't think that's true. But, either way, that was fucking hysterical.
For the laughs.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's sketchy to me. But any last thoughts? I'll hit the music. We can go ahead and get our way out of here.
Nope. I think that's it, brother.
Good show. Good show. A lot to talk about, man. I'm ready for some playoff football. Sad that college is over. Longest off season, like you said, but we got a lot of good stuff coming up soon with the recruiting, mock drafts and stuff. But Super Bowl's just a few weeks away.
Yep. Is it February 10th?
I think so.
Because it's usually it's usually the second Sunday in February, if I'm not mistaken. It may be on Valentine's Day, to be honest. 13th.
Yeah, 13th. The 6th should be like the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
If they do the Madden one again. But yeah, it should be the 13th. So, all right. So let's try to do that closeout that Shane did last week that I was super fucking tired and just failed to do.
And
with
honestly,
him.
guys, if you listen to that came like in the spur of the moment.
It did.
Like I was just sitting back and he was talking and I was like, fuck it, I'm winging it.
Yeah. All right, well, if you made it all the way to the end, we appreciate the hell out of you for that. Make sure to go check us out on Twitter at TerribleFE Go follow all of us at Twitter. Be a friend, tell a friend that you're watching, subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for listening to
A Terrible Football Show. See you next time.